Hello everyone, welcome to biology class. In this class we are going to see 9th standard biology unit 23 economic biology. First let us discuss the learning objectives of this chapter. So after learning this chapter we will be able to know about what is horticulture and floriculture, and also we will come to know about the biomanures and its importance. We will differentiate about hydroponics, aquaponics and aeroponics. And also we will come to know about the importance of dairy farming, cattle breeds, aquaculture, pisciculture, and also about the vermicomposting and its benefits. And also gain some knowledge about apiculture. Before getting into the chapter, let us have an introduction. The gift of nature is almost unlimited, and thus a variety of useful products are obtained from plants. So many products are available from plants. And the economic uses of plants are varied, and therefore the scope for improvement and their cultivation is immense. So the plants, we are obtaining innumerable number of benefit from the plants. So its improvement and the scope for the improvement is immense. Floriculture and horticulture have gained considerable public attraction. We will learn in detail about what is floriculture and what is horticulture. And in recent scenario, more emphasis is given to the progress of economic aspects of zoology, not only for the plants, even the economic zoology has also gained importance, like aquaculture, culturing of fish, prawns, crabs, pearl and edible oysters, vermiculture, apiculture and dairy farming are also gaining much importance due to its high commercial values. And animal farming has now become an agro-based entrepreneurship and is beneficial to rural farmers. So it is a agro-based like a business. Okay, this animal farming have become like a agro-based business and which is beneficial to the rural farmers, that is villages. And we will study about them elaborately in this lesson. First, horticulture. So what is horticulture? It is a branch of agriculture and it deals with the cultivation of fruits, vegetables and ornamental plants. So you will be growing fruits, vegetables, ornamental plants. The word horticulture is derived from the Latin word. In Latin, hortus meaning garden and ciller meaning to cultivate. So the horticulture has been derived from the Latin word. So it is both a science and an art of growing plants with improved growth, high quality, high yield and with the resistance to diseases, insect stress, etc. And the four main classes of horticulture are: number 1, pomology, otherwise referred to as fruit farming; olericulture, otherwise referred to as vegetable farming; floriculture, referred to as flower farming; and landscape gardening. So we will discuss each and every one in detail. First, pomology. So pomology is otherwise referred to as fruit farming. Again, it is a Latin word. In Latin, pomum means fruit and logi means study. So, pomology is going to deal with the development and enhancement of fruit quality, its cultivation techniques and regulation of production periods and reduction of production cost of fruits. So, pomology is nothing but fruit farming. So, it deals with the development of fruit varieties. Olericulture or vegetable farming. So olericulture or vegetable farming is nothing but it is the science of growing vegetables. And vegetable farming itself, it is classified into 3 different kinds: kitchen or nutrition gardening, commercial gardening and vegetable forcing. So again we are going to see the 3 kinds of vegetable farming in detail. First, to go about kitchen or nutrition gardening. So kitchen gardening is nothing but growing of vegetables in small scale at household. Okay, for the own use, they will be growing certain vegetables in the house itself. No, so such kind of gardening is referred to as kitchen gardening. So example, they will be cultivating beans, cabbage, lady's finger, tomato, brinjal, carrot, spinach, etc. for their own purpose. So that is referred to as kitchen gardening. Commercial gardening. Commercial gardening is nothing but they are growing the vegetables in a large scale. So, for the purpose of selling them in the markets, that is referred to as commercial. So, to be sold in the market, they are grown in large scale production. Next is vegetable forcing. So, it is also a method of growing vegetables. They are growing the vegetables in buildings, greenhouses, cold farms, or under other artificial growing condition. So, particularly they will be grown under some artificial condition. Then it is referred to as vegetable forcing. And it is the most intensive type of vegetable growing, and certain vegetables are grown by this vegetable forcing method such as cabbage, tomato, brinjal, etc. The next is greenhouse or polyhouse. So what is it? So this is the greenhouse or polyhouse. It is a framed structure and it is covered with a transparent material, and here the crops are grown under partially or fully controlled environmental condition. So the environmental condition is controlled here. And why it is controlled? To gain a suitable profit or productivity, to get the optimum growth, and it is the fastest growing sector in agriculture worldwide. Now let's discuss the advantages of this greenhouse. So by using this greenhouse, disease free plants can be produced, and the water requirement of crops is very less because they are controlling the temperature here. So the water requirement of crop is very less, and yield is very high. Okay, when compared to the outdoor crops, the crops that are grown in this greenhouse will give high yield. High yield means more amount of the product will be produced. Limited pesticide is needed. Okay, pesticide is nothing but the substance or the chemical which is going to kill the pest is referred to as pesticide. So the crops that are grown under this greenhouse, there is no need or some limited pesticide is enough. And it protects plants from uncertain weather. Infobit. Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. It is an agricultural crop insurance scheme. Okay, so it is an insurance scheme, and this scheme is announced by the Indian government. Under the scheme, the central government provides insurance cover. Okay, so the insurance cover is provided to the farmers, and also they give some financial assistance. And this scheme was launched on 18th February 2016. Next is floriculture or flower farming. So floriculture, it is nothing but the art of cultivation of flowering and ornamental plants. So especially they are grown for its beauty or floristry. It is concerned with growing traditional flowers, cut flowers, bedding plants, foliage potted plants, arboriculture trees, turf grass for beautification and value added products. So especially for beautification, in case of floristry, they will be using this ornamental flowers, okay, for their beauty. And also to gain some value added products like essential oils, pharmaceutical and nutraceutical compounds. Okay, so the substances that are of importance, medicinal importance, okay, and nutritive importance also grown under this floriculture or flower farming. And you have few examples: geranium, pelargonium, busy impatiens, and chrysanthemum petunia. So these are the ornamental varieties and which are grown under this flower farming or floriculture. Uses of flowers. So the flowers, they are used for decoration purpose. So because of its beautiful uh, color and also beautiful appearance and a pleasant smell, they are used for decoration purpose. And it is also used for personal need. And also the flowers are used in religious and ceremonial offerings. And the flowers impart color and beauty to the garden, and flowers increase the country's economy. And another info bit, Ulavan app. The government of Tamil Nadu has launched the Ulavan farmer mobile application, and it can be used by farmers to gather information on the farm subsidies. Okay, farm subsidies is nothing but they will purchase the seeds, the pesticides, or the fertilizer under a reduced cost is referred to as subsidy. So you'd have heard LPG and all will be getting a subsidy, like similarly farm subsidies. Farm equipments, crop insurance and weather condition. It also provides information. This app also provides information on the available stock of seeds and fertilizers in local government and private stores. Next is landscape gardening. So landscape horticulture is the study of designing and constructing the landscape. So the landscape, here the landscape is designed, okay. So in such a way to attract, okay, the people. In case of botanical gardens and all, you could have seen. So they will be creating some new landscape models, so to attract the people. And also they are using this landscape in certain homes, business firms and public areas to imitate the natural scenery. The next topic is manuring, and we are going to deal about bio-manuring. So organic manures are predominantly derived from plant debris, animal feces and microbes. So first, what is a manure? So a manure is a substance which is added to the crop plants to make the crop grow well. That is, the manure will contain several nutrients which are required for the plant growth. So nowadays you would have heard that the organic manure, okay, organic manure has gained much importance instead of the chemical fertilizers and all which we were using. So which is very harmful not only to the plants or the human, also it is going to affect the environment. So when we use the organic manure, so it is environmental friendly. And this organic manure, they make the soil fertile by adding nutrients, especially nitrogen. Now let's see few bio manures. First is animal manure. The animal manure consists of feces and urine from the livestock like cattle, okay, like cow, buffaloes, horses, pigs, sheep, chicken, turkey, rabbits and all. So their feces and urine constitute the animal manure. The manures from different animals have different qualities and different applications. Next is farmyard manure. So it is a mixture of the cattle dung, urine, litter material. Litter material is nothing but the fallen leaves, that and all constitute litter material and other dairy waste. On an average, well decomposed farmyard manure contains 0.5% nitrogen, 0.2% phosphate and 0.5% available potash. Next is sheep and goat manure. So this sheep and goat manure contain high nutrients than when compared to the farmyard manure. So when you look at the percentage of the nutrients, so it will be very clear that they contain higher nutrients. So here you could see 3% nitrogen, whereas in farmyard manure 0.5%, here 3% nitrogen, 0.2% available phosphate. So here you could see 1% phosphorus, here only 0.2, and 2% potassium oxide. So it consists of higher nutrients when compared to the farmyard manure. Next is compost. So compost is nothing but a soil conditioner as well as a fertilizer that is rich in nutrients. It is produced by natural decomposition of organic matter such as crop residues, animal waste, food waste, industrial and municipal waste by organisms, that is microorganisms, under controlled condition. So by the decomposition of these substances, the compost is produced. And this compost will serve as a soil conditioner and also act as a fertilizer because it is containing high amount of nutrients. Next is green manure. So green manure is obtained by collection and decomposition of green leaves, twigs of trees, field bunds, etc. And green manure will improve the soil structure and also it will increase the water holding capacity of the soil and also decreases the soil loss by erosion. So what they will be doing under green manure, they will be growing the crops and they will be ploughing the crops along with the field. Okay, that process is called as green manure. And it also helps in reclamation of alkaline soil and reduces weed proliferation. Reclamation is nothing but which has the soil is again brought back to the cultivable condition. That process is called as reclamation. So whatever the soil that is not suitable for agriculture can be again brought back to a suitable soil for agriculture. That process is called as reclamation. And the green manure obtained from undecomposed green material derived from leguminous plants. So usually the manure is derived from the decomposition process, organic matter. But here it is going to be obtained from undecomposed green material. And example, so these plants acts as green manure, sun hemp, sesbania. Okay, so the plants were grown and they are ploughed. Okay, by using like a tractor, they are ploughed, the plants, they are ploughed and it is getting mixed with the soil, and then when they are growing the crop plants, so utilizing the nutrients from this green manure, the crop plant will grow well. Next is biofertilizer. So biofertilizers are the substances that contain living microorganisms, and when this biofertilizer it is applied to the seeds, plant surfaces or soil, they colonize the rhizosphere or the interior of the plant and promote the growth by increasing the supply or availability of primary nutrients to the host plant. So this biofertilizer, so they are going to be highly beneficial. They are going to make the nutrients available to the plant, thereby aiding in the high quality and high yield. Types of biofertilizer. The first is rhizobium. Rhizobium is a soil bacterium, and this bacterium it colonizes the roots of leguminous plant. So here you could see it is the leguminous plant, the plant that come under leguminosae family like peas, beans and all. They belong to leguminous plants. Even groundnut and all, they are the examples of leguminous plants. So in the leguminous plants, this bacteria, they will grow in the root and they will form like a nodule like structure. So this is referred to as root nodule. So inside the root nodule only you have the bacteria called rhizobium. So this bacteria have the ability to convert the atmospheric nitrogen. So the plants cannot use up the nitrogen directly because the nitrogen is found in the form of the nitrogen gas which cannot be used by the plants directly. So this bacteria rhizobium will convert the atmospheric nitrogen, okay, that is the molecular form of nitrogen, and it convert to ammonia. So this ammonia can be used up by the plants. So this is the rhizobium biofertilizer. Next is azospirillum. So azospirillum is also a bacteria, and it also has the ability to use atmospheric nitrogen. So this is the azospirillum biofertilizer, and it is inoculated on. So this bacteria, okay, it is inoculated, that is introduced onto maize, barley, oats and sorghum crops. So when this azospirillum biofertilizer is used, you can see that crop productivity is increased by 5 to 20% in cereals, 30% in millets, and by over 50% in fodder. So the yield is increased by using this azospirillum bacteria as biofertilizer. Next is acetobacter. So this is also a biofertilizer. So here they are using the bacteria called acetobacter, and it has been found to increase the yield of wheat, rice, maize and sorghum. And they are also known to fix atmospheric nitrogen. But apart from fixing the atmospheric nitrogen, they have certain antifungal and antibacterial compounds. Okay, so it is giving resistance to the crop plants against the bacteria and fungal attack. The next kind is mycorrhizae. Mycorrhizae is nothing but the symbiotic association between fungi and the root of vascular plants. So the fungi and root come into association, symbiotic association. Such an association is called mycorrhizae. So what is meant by symbiotic association? So in the association, two partners are involved and both the partners are benefited, then such a kind of association is called as symbiotic association. Here what are the two partners are involved? One is fungi and the other one is root of plant. So how both are benefited? So the fungi, being an heterotrophic organism, they cannot prepare their own food, and the plants, being an autotrophic organism, they can prepare the food, and that food can be also taken up by the fungi. So the fungi is getting benefited. How the plant is getting benefited? So the mycorrhizae, which is growing around the root of the plant, will increase the absorptive area of the roots. Thereby they aid in the absorption of water and minerals which are required by the plants. So in this way both are benefited. And also this mycorrhizae will increase the uptake of phosphorus. Example, citrus, papaya. So this is the mycorrhizae biofertilizer. Next is azolla. Azolla is a free floating aquatic fern. Okay, it is found on water surfaces having a cyanobacterial symbiotic association with the Anabaena. So it is a fern. Fern is nothing but a pteridophyte. So this aquatic fern, it is having a symbiotic association with the cyanobacteria, that is blue-green algae. The name of the algae is Anabaena. So they are both symbiotically related, and it is a live floating nitrogen factory using energy from photosynthesis to fix atmospheric nitrogen. And Infobits biofertilizer scheme. Tamil Nadu government has recently launched a biofertilizer scheme, and this scheme is aimed at better management of natural farming and helps to boost and maintain the soil fertility. So in this class we have discussed in detail about several methods, such as we have discussed about horticulture, we have also discussed about olericulture, and also we have discussed about floriculture and landscape gardening, and also we have seen in detail about the manuring. We have discussed different types of manuring. Hope you have understood. Thank you. Meet you in the next session.